Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a fantastic gaming PC based around this, the RTX 5070. But no normal 5070, a limited edition World of Warcraft Midnight design at that. A card that offers up really great 1080p performance but is more squarely aimed for those of you looking to play at 1440p and does so around a pretty competitive price point. I'll be walking you guys through the kind of parts I'd pair up with the 5070 to produce a pretty fantastic gaming PC build, talking about what you should do if you're looking to build a PC in the current climate we live in with crazy memory, SSDs, and even recently GPU pricing, and then talking you guys through the exact performance on offer from this very build a little bit later on. So without any further ado, let's dive into it and get this build moving. Shall we begin with the GPU, the RTX 5070. This particular 5070 comes from MSI and is actually their World of Warcraft Midnight Edition. So my thinking today was to have a bit of a themed build, not necessarily like a World of Warcraft themed build, but a build that leans into the color scheme that this card has got, because it actually looks pretty special. The 5070 is a really interesting card because it has a good amount of video memory for 1440p, something Nvidia haven't necessarily got right on all of the cards in their lineup, shall we say, and it also comes in at a fairly competitive price point. It seems to have been much less affected by the current price increases we've seen in the market when compared to things like the 5070 Ti, the 5080, and even the 5060 Ti 16GB. This card is pretty cool though, right? It's got this midnight colorway on the front, which looks really, really cool, and then on the back, it's got midnight on one side and then this nice yellow on the other side, which looks a bit different. I'm going to try and opt to vertically mount the GPU in today's build and lean more into this midnight blue color rather than the yellow or gold. I guess it's gold that's on the back. I'm not old enough to say back in my day, but I remember when I first started building PCs here on the channel, like nearly 10 years ago now, which is crazy. We used to see more like multicolor, more out there GPUs. Now we have black. Obviously we have a lot of white cards nowadays, but I feel like some brands are scared of designs that maybe are a bit, what's the word?
Out there.
I've already said out there. I can't say, I need another, like a synonym for out there. Different. Let's go with different. I'm not going to throw this on the floor like I normally do. Don't think MSI World of Warcraft would be very happy. Let's talk about the CPU for today's build. The CPU and GPU combo, always a really important part. I've gone for probably the most obvious and predictable part of them all, the Ryzen 5 9600X. It's got 6 cores, 12 threads, and good clock speeds. It's an inoffensive CPU that consistently does a great job. And you can see, even compared to really high-end options like the X3D lineup, at 1440p in particular, this is really going to provide great performance and not prove to be much of a bottleneck, if at all, for the GPU. I'm going to just do memory and storage really quickly because it's a bit of a sensitive topic right now. Ultimately, what you want for storage is a 1TB Gen 4 NVMe drive. Within reason, providing the brand you go for is reputable, it's got decent reviews, the drive you buy doesn't matter. I like this TeamGroup MP44L, but it's essentially just my illustration of a 1TB Gen 4 NVMe. The same goes for the RAM, 32GB of DDR5. In the current climate, that's my recommendation. The speed and latency is important to a degree, and if you can get a kit that's as close to 6,000 mega transfers and CL36 or lower, great. If not, it doesn't really matter that much. I did a video recently about whether you really need 32 gigs of memory in 2026, and you might find some interesting results. So check that out in the cards now. And if you've watched that video, taken the points away from it, you might be open to considering 16 gigs of RAM for this build as an interim measure, because it very likely is going to be more than good enough for gaming and not really hold the other parts in this system back, at least not for now. As more and more games come out that can leverage more memory, we're expecting 16 gigs to become insufficient, but at the moment, it's something you may be able to get away with. Power is provided by this, a pretty affordable A750 GLS from MSI. Crucially, it's got the PCI Gen 5 power connector built in. It's natively ATX 3.1 and PCI Gen 5.1. We need that for the 12-volt high power connection on the GPU. Of course, with NVIDIA cards, you've got that newer connector. With AMD, you've got the older style. For the case, I've got something brand new, something that I've not really seen many videos online about, and it comes in from Montech, and it's a successor to one of my favorite cases and one of their most successful cases of all time. Specifically, this is Montech's Sky 3, and it's a successor to the Sky 2. Let's take a look inside and see what they've done. So we've got a full tempered glass panel, which really satisfyingly clicks in and out in a toolless fashion. So that's pretty cool. The same, by the way, happens for the rear panel. And then inside, you can see at the bottom here, we've got two 120mm reverse blade fans. The power supply is going to mount kind of sideways at the front here. We've then got further room for two intake fans at the back, and then of course room for a 360mm radiator or three 120mm fans at the top. First impressions are pretty good. We've got rubber grommets everywhere. That's quite nice. We've got blacked out PCI lanes, presumably to help the airflow kind of guide up the system. We've got an exhaust fan included. At the rear of the case, this is always good to see. We've got an included ARGB fan hub with the option to plug in 1, 2, 3, 4 more ARGB headers, and then an additional 4 fan headers as well, which is nice. I'm guessing, yes, on the basis there's one more RGB header than fan header. On the front here, we've got a nice little strip of RGB lighting, which could look rather nice. By the looks of things, yes, it continues onto the glass panel, and you can see that by this little power connector here. So when you put the glass panel on, it takes the power from here and the RGB continues across. There is one other part I haven't talked about, and that's the cooler for today's build. And that's because you've got two options. The sensible, cheap option would be to go for something like a Thermalright Tower air cooler. However, I want to go a bit differently. I'm gonna go for the good old trusty Montech Hyperflow, one of my favorite coolers out there at the moment. Now, Montech recently released a light flow design as well, which is slightly more affordable, so you may want to consider picking that up instead. This is, as I say, one of my favorites. We use it in loads of the builds we sell at GeekaPC, which is our UK pre-built company. I'll link that down below. And I'm a big fan of this particular cooler. So that's what I'm going to pop in for today's system. So without any further ado, I think it's time to get the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and SSD assembled and start putting this build together. Pause the video right there. I have forgotten one incredibly important part, and that is this, the motherboard. Specifically, this is the MSI B850 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi Mark II. It's got some improvements over the original design. It's got loads of features that I like. The nice little release button for the top PCI slot, cool. We've got good CPU power delivery, solid VRMs. If you wanted to upgrade to a higher end CPU, this board is going to be more than capable. And at the back, there's a really good rear I/O. We've got 5 gigabit Ethernet. We've also got loads of high-speed USB Type A and Type C and Wi-Fi 7 built in for good measure. So now I can install the CPU, RAM, the SSD into the motherboard. Next stage is installing the motherboard into the case. All of the standoffs are going to be in the right place because this is an ATX board and this is an ATX case. So that makes the whole thing really, really very easy, very simple. All I've got to do is just get it lined up, get the I/O through the back. Here we go. And then get the board secured down. The screws and stuff you need all come included in little bags with the Sky 3. So nice and simple. So the motherboard is in. The next thing I'm going to do is actually get the power supply in and start wiring this build up. And I'm intrigued to see how easy or difficult this is going to be, given this case's slightly unusual approach. Now, it looks like you can actually remove this bracket, but I wonder if we can just install the power supply as it is straight into the case. And the idea here is a bit like with the Corsair Shift power supplies. You then have side access to all the cables, which should make the whole thing a bit easier. Aha! We are in. And then on the other side, that's then going to give us this little kettle lead here, which we can chuck into the back of the power supply. And then you can see we've got our 4 screw hole locations at the rear to secure the power supply screws into. A bit more difficult probably from this angle. As I say, the bracket is removable. But to be honest with you, I'm not actually sure you need to take it out. And then, background at the rear of the case, you can see all those power connectors and stuff should be pretty easily accessible. I'm going to go ahead and wire up one for the CPU, or 2 for the CPU actually, 1 for the motherboard, the GPU power cable for later, and then also I'm going to wire up this little SATA power cable down the bottom here. This is going to power up our RGB and fan hub at the top of the case. I'm also going to then follow up by installing the front panel cables. That includes both the USB 3 Type A, followed by the USB 3 Type C, the front panel cables to the bottom right-hand corner, and the HD audio to the bottom left. Now, take 2. Now, the next step of the build is the cooler. That's the wrong cooler.
I was about to say.
Take 3. Now, the next stage of today's build is the CPU cooler. As mentioned previously, this is an area you could definitely trim out some cost if you wanted to, and that's something I'm being really keen to emphasize in lots of my builds recently, because obviously in the current market, any cost savings you can make can be really beneficial. This is, as I say, the Hyperflow 360, and I think that it's one of, in my opinion, the best price to performance coolers we've really ever seen. This video, by the way, definitely not sponsored by Montech. Montech, if you are watching this video and you want to, do some stuff, then let me know, but this is not sponsored at all. We've got inside our cooler our 3 fans, which all come pre-wired up, which is really rather nice. And you can see that makes installing the cooler in the case super, super easy. We've also got inside this little bag the bracket required to actually install this on an AMD CPU. So you can see here, this bracket is going to allow us to leverage the stock pre-included mounting hardware, which makes life nice and easy. For now though, I'm going to start by installing the radiator at the top of the case and screwing it in with anywhere from about 8 to 12 screws. If you're going to follow this to the letter, do all 12 to get it nice and secure. From there, I'm going to follow up with the GPU, and I've actually picked up this, which is Haven's vertical GPU mount. It's like a universal PCI Gen 5 riser, though I think Gen 4 would actually be fine for this build, which I'm hoping we can use inside of the Sky 3 to get everything moving in the right direction, and of course show off this GPU in all of its glory. Let's just check that it's going to fit. The answer is yes, I think it will. The only stipulation for using something like this is that the PCI lanes at the back of the case have to not have bars between them. So you have to be able to remove all the lanes and have an unimpeded bit of space. And you'll see in a moment exactly what I mean by that. First thing we're going to do is actually pop the GPU riser cable into the PCI slot. That's going to go in nice and easily and latch in. Then I'm going to slide our vertical GPU mount into place, and just to fix it from the bottom here. By the looks of it, this isn't going to populate all of the PCI slots. It actually leaves the top one open. So what that means I can do, is it means I can just return one of the PCI lane covers back into place just to get the whole thing finished off quite nicely. So that should look a little something like this. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, screw all of that in with the same screws I just used to take out the PCI lanes, and then we've got ourselves a functional vertical GPU mount. Now the big moment. Time to install this limited edition 5070 GPU. I say time to install. It's nearly, I need to remove the thumb screws, and this is where I have a bit of a problem. Oh no. And they're so tight, I can't get them. Let me see if I've got a smaller screwdriver. This could come to my rescue. Yes. I do wish though that when they ship these vertical GPU mounts out, they made the thumb screws quite loose, because I feel like a lot of people would make the same mistake where they would install the actual riser first. The good news though is it feels really high quality actually. As you'd expect from Haven, they're a premium brand. You don't have to go this high end on the riser cable. It's just what I had to hand, and at the end of the day, if we know it's going to be good quality, then that's a bit of a winner. Oh my God, oh my goodness me, how tight? Is the clearance going to be okay for the RAM? That's the only thing I'm maybe kind of worried about. Think so? Yes, look at that. Come on. Now, the only thing to probably note is that it's going to look a bit out of place until we get the rest of the build powered up and the fans and stuff with the right colour scheme. I'm also going to pick up, I think, a couple of reverse blade intakes for the side, as that's looking incredibly empty, and now try and struggle to get these thumb screws back into place. Oh my goodness me, this is so complicated. No. No! Oh no! In fact, hang on, let's take the magnetic tip, use the magnetic tip in the otherwise non-magnetic screwdriver. Oh yeah, that's a way better idea. Oh, I am a genius sometimes. Far from a genius, but you get the point. That's gonna go in. Nice. Look at that! And then it's a case of running the GPU power cable. And I'm gonna pop that, I think, through this grommet here, which you guys probably can't see, but that's kind of the point, it's hidden, right? And then that's gonna plug in to the GPU via this top connector just here. Yes, look at that. Pull the slack through so that it's hidden, and I think that looks pretty good. Give me a few moments to get the extra fans in here, and then let's configure the RGB so the whole thing actually matches. an amazing looking gaming PC build. I really like that we vertically mounted the GPU in this system. I think that just looks a lot better and really showcases off this really unique WoW design. Now, in terms of benchmarking, I'll jump into the numbers in just a second, but first I should point out that all the testing today was done using MSI's MPG 272 URX. It's a stunning QD OLED monitor, it's got a 27-inch form factor, 4K, 240Hz, it is overkill, but that makes it a perfect companion for benchmarking, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, as far as how this translates into the gaming benchmark results, most of the testing today was done at 1440p. That's to try and leverage the high refresh rate of the monitor and to replicate the kind of gaming you'd be doing at home. Now let's start off with Arc Raiders. Here at 1440p high settings, this build pulled in over 140 FPS, 142.9 frames per second to be exact. Visuals look great as you would expect, and these frame rates are just about in the region we'd kind of class as being competitive, anything over about 140 frames. Battlefield 6 does see the frame rate drop a little bit at 1440p high, but it's a title that I think you get a lot of benefit from playing at a higher resolution and a high settings preset. Average frame rates were 118.8 FPS across our test. Visually, the game looked absolutely fantastic. And of course, you do get the advantage of DLSS and even frame generation, which I didn't enable for my testing, but you could add in on balance, for example, to increase frame rates a bit further. Call of Duty's Black Ops 7 Zombies was tested at both 1080 and 1440p, just to give us a good point of comparison. Starting off at 1080p, and we saw an average of 143 FPS, not too bad, while moving the resolution up to 1440p sees us lose around 35 FPS, dropping to an average of 108. Here you can see what your different options are at those two main resolutions, both of which the 5070 excels. Cyberpunk 2077 was next, again at 1440p and 1080p. 1080p first of all delivers an absolutely stonking 172 frames per second on the high settings preset. No DLSS, no frame gen, no ray tracing, just vanilla rasterization. Tune up to 1440p, this drops down to just over 123. But still a great frame rate, and obviously you get that nice visual boost. Finally, in Fortnite, which is the last title today, 1080p competitive settings, as always in basically all of my builds for pretty much the last 5 years at this point. Here the average frame rate stood at 242 frames per second, which is crazy. Competitive, everything down to low except the render distance, which of course was tuned to far. If you enjoyed today's build, want to check out any of the parts, I'll leave them linked down below. You can also find a full write-up of this build on GeekaWhat.com to feast your eyes on and learn more information about all the parts I selected in today's system and the latest pricing. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.